When Officer Daniels arrived at the fiery wreck, he expected twisted metal, maybe a tragedy. What he didn't expect was to hear barking from inside. A canine dog, tied and left to burn alive. What happened next would uncover a betrayal so cruel. It left an entire town in tears that he was sipping lukewarm coffee when a dispatcher's voice cut through the static, sharp and urgent. Unit 47. We've got a vehicle fire reported near County Road 12. Unknown if occupied. Possible squad car involved. Jake's stomach tightened. Squad car? That was personal. He flicked on his sirens and hit the gas, his mind racing. Who would leave a cruiser like that? And why hadn't they radioed for help? The snow blurred past him as he sped toward the location, heart pounding harder with every mile. Flames and police didn't belong in the same sentence. And something felt off. As he turned onto the icy road, he saw it. A black police SUV fully engulfed in fire, smoke curling into the gray sky like a beacon of chaos. But then, something else. Faint, rapid barking. Jake slammed the brakes and threw the door open. The sound wasn't just barking. It was screaming. Desperate. Familiar. That was no ordinary dog. That was Rex, his partner. And he was trapped inside. Jake's boots crunched against the snow as he sprinted toward the inferno, arms pumping, breath clouding the freezing air. The barking grew louder, more frantic. His eyes scanned the interior through the thick, rolling smoke. And then he saw him. Rex, thrashing against his restraints in the back seat, eyes wide with panic, muzzle soaked in drool from heat and stress. No, 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 Jake muttered, his voice cracking. The flames had already reached the front of the vehicle, licking the dashboard, threatening to spread. The back doors were locked, the windows fogged and blackened. But Rex was alive, barely. He could see the rope, tied tightly around Rex's legs and torso. This wasn't a mistake. Someone had done this on purpose. Jake pounded on the glass. Hold on, buddy. I'm here. Rex barked again, weaker this time, as smoke began to fill his lungs. The air reeked of burning rubber and melting plastic. Jake's hand went to his baton. He struck the rear window once, twice, nothing. On. The third hit, the glass cracked, but time was running out. The flames surged behind the dashboard with a violent pop. There was no room for doubt anymore. This was a trap, and Rex was the target. With the window now spiderwebbed from impact, Jake let out a grunt and slammed his elbow through the cracked glass. It shattered in a spray of shards, slicing his forearm, but he didn't care. The heat punched him in the face as smoke billowed out in thick waves, stinging his eyes and lungs. He dropped low, crawling halfway into the vehicle, barely able to see. Rex, stay with me, boy, he shouted, his voice hoarse. Rex let out a weak whimper, barely able to lift his head. The rope was wrapped tighter than Jake expected, multiple knots, deliberate, cruel. His fingers scrambled against the binding, burning with urgency. The flames behind the front seats surged, roaring like a beast set loose. Time was running out. Finally, the last knot gave way. Jake grabbed Rex, cradling his limp body against his chest as he backed out of the car. The moment his boots hit the pavement, the front of the SUV exploded, sending a fireball into the sky. Jake stumbled and fell to his knees, shielding Rex with his own body. For a moment, everything was silent, just the sound of crackling flames and his pounding heartbeat. But Rex was out. He was alive, barely. Jake collapsed beside Rex, snow soaking through his uniform as he held the dog close. Rex wasn't moving. His chest rose and fell in shallow, uneven breaths, his fur scorched and singed. Come on, buddy, Jake whispered, voice trembling. Stay with me. By now, other officers had arrived, their cars skidding to a halt. One of them radioed for emergency veterinary support, while another draped a blanket over Jake's shoulders. But he didn't notice. All he could see was Rex, his partner, his best friend, fighting for every breath. A medic team arrived with a specialized K9 stretcher. Carefully, they lifted Rex and loaded him into the back of a transport unit, oxygen mask secured over his muzzle. Jake jumped in beside him, refusing to be left behind. As the sirens wailed and the ambulance tore down the icy road, Jake stared at Rex's unmoving form, silently praying. The fight for his life had just begun. Back at the scene, while Rex fought for his life, detectives cordoned off the smoldering cruiser. Something didn't sit right. K9s were never left alone, let alone tied down like that. It wasn't just neglect, it was intentional. Officer Daniels, his uniform stained with smoke and blood, gave his statement between glances at his phone for hospital updates. He was tied. Not just restrained, tied with rope. Somebody wanted him dead, he told the lead investigator, his jaw clenched. The VIN confirmed the vehicle had been reported missing from a department garage 2 nights earlier, logged as a mechanical transfer. But no such request had ever been filed. Someone had manipulated the system that a fire marshal examined the car remains. Accelerant was used, he said grimly. This wasn't spontaneous combustion. This was a setup. Everyone in the precinct felt the shift. This wasn't just about arson or theft anymore. This was an attack on one of their own. Long before the flames, before the trap, Rex was the pride of the department. A purebred German shepherd with sharp instincts and a heart. Bigger than most humans. He wasn't just a working dog. He was a hero. 2 years earlier, Rex had located a missing child during a snowstorm, sniffing through knee-deep drifts for 9 hours without rest. A year after that, he took down an armed fugitive hiding in an abandoned warehouse, saving Officer Daniels' life in the process. But beyond the accolades and medals, it was his bond with Jake that defined him. The two were inseparable, partners in patrol and in life. Daniels never called him the dog. He called him my boy. Rex knew every command. But more importantly, he knew when something was wrong, when a heartbeat skipped, when danger was near. He didn't just serve. He protected. And now, someone had tried to silence that spirit. The investigation moved quickly. Surveillance footage from a gas station near the department's vehicle lot caught a figure in uniform driving the missing cruiser. But the timestamp didn't match any authorized schedule. When facial recognition was run, the image hit on a shocking match. Officer Ray Mercer, a former cop fired 6 months ago for misconduct. Mercer had held a grudge. After his dismissal, he spiraled, blaming the department, especially Officer Daniels, who had testified during the internal review. Mercer had access to old codes, back entrances, and knew how to make it look routine. He knew Rex. He knew Daniels. And he wanted revenge. Detectives found rope fibers matching those on Rex in the trunk of Mercer's abandoned pickup. A partially burned uniform was discovered nearby, reeking of accelerant. The plan had been cold, calculated, and personal. Back at the hospital, Jake was updated. His hands clenched into fists. He targeted Rex to hurt me. An arrest warrant was issued within hours. Mercer, on the run, wouldn't get far. But even if justice came quickly, one truth hit harder than the rest. This wasn't just an act of violence. It was a betrayal by one of their own. And it nearly cost them everything. Days passed. Then a week. The vet gave cautious updates. He's strong, she said softly. If any dog can pull through this, it's him. One morning, Jake awoke to a soft nudge. He opened his eyes, and there was Rex, lifting his head, eyes glassy but alive. Jake's breath caught in his throat. Hey, buddy, he whispered, voice breaking. You're still with me. From that day on, Rex began to fight back. Physical therapy followed, gentle walks, assisted exercises. Officers came to visit, bringing toys and cards signed by kids in the community. Each step forward was slow but filled with determination that he wasn't just surviving. He was coming back. And through it all, Jake never once let go. Because Rex wasn't just a partner. He was family. And no one leaves family behind. Not even. In Firepoint 3 months later, the precinct's parking lot overflowed with squad cars, news vans, and tearful onlookers. A stage had been set up in front of the building, draped with a banner that read, "Welcome home, hero." Jake stepped onto the platform, dressed in formal blues. At his side walked Rex, slower now, with a slight limp, but head held high, eyes alert. His once singed coat had grown back, and around his neck hung a special medal, custom made by the department. As Rex took his place center stage, the crowd erupted in applause. Officers, families, civilians, even children waving handmade signs. Thank you, Rex. Jake leaned into the mic, voice thick with emotion. This dog didn't just survive. He saved lives. And he reminded us what loyalty really looks like. Rex looked out over the crowd, then sat proudly, tail wagging. In that moment, he wasn't just a K9, that he was a legend.